Hi, Debbie. Congratulations on being one of our Diversity100 awardees. I see that your subject area is around bereavement. It's quite a sensitive area. Why this particular area of study?
Well, bereavement is something that I am heavily involved in at the moment, and I guess it's come from my family. When I think back and think about my parents, I've always been involved with the community, around supporting people who have had a death in a family, and so I've been around death from a young child. And I trained as a celebrant about 8 years ago now. And a celebrant is someone who officiates ceremonies. And my focus, I just naturally gravitated towards doing funerals. And I don't know if it's because I was just offered more work as doing funerals, but I just, and it was just like such a space to be in where I'm supporting people and serving families. And kind of looking at my background, also taking into account person-centered funerals. So the ceremonies all around the individual who's died, as opposed to it being a religious space. So religion is where my parents come from. So I have that background. And there is that understanding in terms of often people are grounded in their religion, but sometimes they don't want the focus necessarily to be that. And so that's really informed me. I just want to know. I've asked so many questions around bereavement. It's something that will come to all of us if someone we know will die. And it's such a wide topic that affects families, it affects individuals, it affects people that don't have any family. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I've just had so many questions about it, and it's just grown into this area of interest, and I'm quite passionate about it in death education. Okay. So a death cafe is before COVID, death cafes were always physical spaces, and they're spaces where anyone can come along and talk about death, dying and bereavement, anything that affects them. It's an organic process. It's a conversation which is non-judgmental, where it doesn't matter what background you are, what religion, what creed, what race, anything. Everybody just comes around. We know what the topic is, so there's not really any taboo around it. And sometimes people just want to vent. Sometimes people are curious, and they just want a space where they can either ask questions or talk about what's going on for them in terms of their fears. COVID came, and it was like, whoa, how do we do this? It's it's a beautiful space. They're a supportive space. It's nice to have people come and rest with us for a while.
Fantastic. So your studies, tell me a bit more about your studies, why you applied for the studentship, and why Birkbeck?
There's so many things, so many reasons why I applied for my studies. Yeah, my parents are big on education. They're Caribbean parents who are just like when I look at the whole thing, who do they say? Who's the guy in the Labour Party about education? That didn't come from him. It came from my parents. I came from my parents, and my parents were the ones that say, you have to work twice as hard as your white counterparts do and get half of what they've got. I never understood it when I was younger. I never understood it. And, growing up at school and coming out with less qualifications than they expected me to, and then feeling like I couldn't really achieve what I was destined to achieve according to them. And it took me a long time. I was bullied at school, and I think that had an impact on me in terms of my belief in myself. So I was always a trier. So I'd always go for things. Whether or not, you know, for a while I went through a phase where I would drop out, and then eventually I came out of my first degree, and I came out with a third class degree. I was like, I don't know, I think I was 2% off. And for me, that was just like, that hit me hard. And that sort of impacted on my whole thing, on my failure. And my parents were like, you still got to go down this legal route. You know, it was like lawyer, teacher, all these particular professions. And over the years, what I found with my qualifications is that I've always worked in a space where I'm supporting others in terms of what I've done, what my failures have been, and that I'm still striving to do more and to do better. And my work has always been around race equality, supporting others, education, and I've never shied away from my background, and I'm still striving. So I'm grateful that Birkbeck looked past my results. I know I got a much higher grade in my master's, but still, you know, when you look at anything around scholarships, it will say you need to have, you know, they're looking for the best of the best.
Certain grades, yeah.
Yeah, that's what they say. They're looking for the best of the best, and you know, I just think Birkbeck have been great in terms of my background's also widening participation. And I know that Birkbeck is a minority majority university when it comes to undergraduate degrees and also master's degrees. And we know that more Black students are they're more likely to do an undergraduate degree, and more likely than their English or white counterparts to do a master's degree.
Yes.
But then when it comes to PhD, if we look at the if we look at the figures, that it's not happening. And I'm so pleased that Birkbeck's taken action as opposed to paying lip service. And so, you know, it's really, really encouraging. And so, you know, Birkbeck's that type of university that supports adults. That's who it's aimed at. It's supporting people who have got to do something in the daytime. And so, you know, they've created this space where people can come in the evening. And again, if we look at the breakdown in terms of race, you'll see that there's more students who come from minority ethnic backgrounds who will be part-time students. They'll be mature students. My parents have had a huge impact on me in terms of my education. They've always talked about education from when we were small, and really pushed us. You know, my mum was one of those people that was up at the school arguing with the teachers if they said that we couldn't do anything. And you know, my dad was a high achiever as well. So in terms of what they did, my dad, now a retired minister of religion, he used to be a mental health nurse, but he also has a PhD, and he did his studies in bereavement as well. He came from a religious perspective in terms of looking at ministering to the sick, you know, before they die. So a different perspective, but he definitely influenced me in terms of my PhD. And my mum, you know, she was also a community nurse, so the whole aspect of community and working out there and supporting other people. And she was then a social worker and went on to become a team leader. So yeah, lots of influence in terms of where they're coming from, pushing themselves, and also myself, I've got 3 older brothers, to do the best that we can and be the best that we can be.